Okay, before we do anything up here, this is probably matters much more than the rear. I'm going to go ahead and do this magnetic protractor thing up here just to get something of a before, try to return it back to this when I get done with this. So first thing is to take this off and then thread it back on a little bit. That's a 24 millimeter. Make sure there's a jack underneath it because this is the only thing holding this to the body. That's little by little probably destroying that strut. I wish I cared. No, I don't wish I cared at all. Destroyed that, I'll tell you that much. Alright, let's just thread this back on a little bit just to hold it. Let's see what that does, because that doesn't seem great. Alright, that's holding it. Let's move on to down there. I'm going to go ahead and get this brake line and ABS wheel speed sensor wire out of the way, and to get this out you have to twist it until the flat part lines up and slide it out, and only lightly twist it, grabbing the sleeve of this thing. There we go. Okay, so unfortunately, to try to get this Clevis bolt out here, these bolts are in the way, so the caliper bracket and caliper bolts, these upper ones, are going to have to come out. Now unfortunately, because that bolt head is flanged, the flange is going to hit that upper one, so it has to come out too, of course. I guess it's got to get past the Nord locks. Alright, I'm gonna go get the ratchet. Alrighty. Okay, for this Clevis bolts, we got a 19 millimeter on this side and then a 22 millimeter nut on the other. Make quick work of these. So yeah, I think what's going on is this little bolt here, which I think is for adjusting the camber, is pushing that way, and it's pushing this top Clevis bolt to the end of its slot, so it's basically under pressure right now. Yep, 8 millimeter. That should be all it needs. Should be. Let me get a mallet. Oh, there was one right here. Let me make sure to hit my fender with the handle of the mallet. Okay. Yeah, see? That's all it was. Alright, let me go find a dead blow hammer and knock this other Clevis bolt out. And of course I've got a jack under the lower control arm, the control arm, to keep all this from falling out of here. Alright, now let me go spend 10 minutes looking for a punch and a hammer. Alrighty. Oh, I didn't even really need to. Okay. Okay. So, thank you, light. I'm really glad you never stay where you're supposed to. The only other thing is to get the end link off of the sway bar, which is what I should have done first. So let me do it now. Now I don't know why on a metric car the end link is 11/16 to keep the stud from turning. Well, it was on the other one. You gotta be kidding me. So that must be an 18. Let me go get the 18. Let me, first of all, make sure that that's also 15. Oh wow, it's a miracle. Okay, let me go get an 18. That's bizarre. I mean, I know it's not a... Well, that's loose. Okay, is it 17? Alright, I don't get it. On the other one, 11/16 fit, 18 was too loose, and 17 was too tight. And on this one, 18, that's a little loose for 18. I know it'll stop it from turning, and I shouldn't care, but that's still really weird. Alright, well, it'll work. It'll keep it from turning. I guess that's all I should care about. Weak ass ratchet. Alright, now when I remove that nut from the top, this whole thing will just come down from above. Like so. Okay, so the BC coilovers do not come with their own mounts, so you need to provide your own. I got white line polyurethane, which come with their own bearings. Now the BCs do come with new bearings, but I just went ahead and went with the white lines. And so with this sheet here, pause it and look at it if you want. I'm concentrating on this washer orientation. So this first washer has that little ridge in it that goes towards the strut, or whatever, the coilover. So we'll have that go on. Then you've got this spring seat, and I believe the black part goes against the spring because it fits in with the mount bearing like that. So that'll go on next, which they're kind of independent from each other, but whatever, you can kind of see how that goes. Then the mount, line it all up. Then that washer, which is the next one, goes like this. So like that, and then the nut. I don't think it matters which way it goes on. So the best way to probably do that is to go ahead and install it in the car and wait till the weight of the car is pushing down on this and torque that to the factory spec of 58 pound-feet or feet-pound or whatever, however you're supposed to say that in this context. Alright, before we stick that in there, I also want to mention that I am using a Petters Clevis bolt, and then there's also a nut in there for the strut mount at the top that mounts it to the body. So I'll also be using that. Let me get those ready. Alright, I think I'm just going to get one bolt in here, connect this first, and then jack this up into the mount. And I'm actually going to run the bolts this way, so that if I ever want to take this off again, the bolt won't have to go out towards the brake caliper. Alright, go ahead and get the other one in. Come on. Alright. Now if I can work this jack. Alright, let's jack that mount up into the body. And we are just going to put this in here and loosely thread this in just to hold this up, because we are going to take this back off and torque that in the end when the weight of the vehicle is pushing down on it. So, alright. So that's basically, essentially bolted in. If you're literally only installing coilovers, you'd torque these, put the weight of the vehicle on it, torque that up there, put your two lines back on, and start setting this thing down on the wheel to just right height. But I am going to be doing radius rod, bushing, all the bushings that go into this control arm, which is the rear radius rod, the inner control arm bushing back there, and I'm also doing the ball joint and tie rod end, but that'll either be in another video or after all this. So at this point, what you would do is, since this is all bolted in now, break this collar loose, and then if you want to move the thing down, then you'd use the big spanner wrench to crank on this collar to screw the thing in, and if you wanted to raise it up, you'd use the smaller spanner wrench to crank on the bottom locking collar to raise this thing up. So obviously I will show that when I get to that point, because it seems to me like this setting is going to be very low. In fact, let's just see where we're at while it's all hanging here. So as of right now, it's 14.5, which is like 360 something. So with the weight of the vehicle on it, I'm sure it's going to be way less, but we'll see that when we get to it. So yeah, that's pretty much, well, obviously I'll have to do the end link too later. As of right now, I think that's just, yeah, that's not connected on either side. So yeah, at some point you got to put the link on too, but as far as just replacing the strut with the coilover, that's all there is to it. It's really not too bad. So yeah, that's that.